We're
Good
glad you
afternoon.
could attend. We are going to review a procedure that we're kind of implementing this year, but it's been a few years in a process. We're moving towards a standard-based report card, which really will be driven by our curriculum. We've adopted a few new programs for both kindergarten, grade one, also uh, grades K through 5 have been impacted by both of these programs officially. So the programs that we're using, our Ready Math, our Fontes and Pinnell Classroom, have been selected because of their standards-based instruction. So we felt this would be the optimal time to make the change. Again, if it were a normal school year, it would be much easier, but at the same time, we want to make sure that we are making the change for the right reasons. This has been something that, like I said, has gone on for a couple years. You can see that why we're making this change. The last 3 years, we spent a tremendous amount of staff time figuring out what's going to work best for our school. Our school is unique to many in terms of what we offer, in terms of the community that we have. And I'm talking about our in-school community, our teaching staff, which is a good mix of veterans and new teachers. And I feel the programs that we've adopted have really lent themselves to this change now. So the reason why we're changing is because everything is going to be standards based in the future. So we may as well get a jump on it now, as well as a lot of districts that have made this change already. Along with the standards based report card changes, there's rubrics, there's report cards, there's progress reports. There's a lot of change going on. So you're going to see different things than you did last year. I know you got a report card for Antonella over the last, and Chloe over the last few years. It's going to look different. And we're just going to show you what last year's looked like in terms of their report cards. And then we're going to talk about our report cards and what they look like now. So Dr. G, you want to start?
Yes, Mr. Duffy did a good job of covering, the rationale as to why we're making this change. As you can see, our report cards in the past have covered a lot of the essential areas, but there's still a lot of areas that, when having conversations with teachers as a parent, they expand on a lot more. And for parents, we wanted to make sure that we were painting that full picture for you. So we have the old report cards here. You had language arts, so it was reading, written and oral language. You had math. You had some basic information for science and social studies, as well as the special subjects. And those report cards were pretty uniform, grades 1 through 3. For kindergarten, it really was focusing on more of the, as I like to say, the old guard of what kindergarten was. As the standards have continued to evolve and change, those standards are still reflected within what we were presenting. But again, we want to make sure that we're painting the full picture. We're providing everyone with an idea as to how their students are doing in the class. So as Mr. Dunphy said, this process started, it's been a couple of years in the making, but we really started having this conversation around November when we did our first report card last year with the new programs. Parents as well as teachers echoed to both of us that there were issues with how everything was being reported out. So we wanted to make sure that we got that teacher input. We started that immediately. As you can see on the 27th of November, it was the next day after we had our last round of conferences where we started talking with our teachers in kindergarten through 2nd grade. And then we realized that it wasn't just a Fontes and Pinnell classroom issue. We recognized that all the report cards needed a little bit of revision in order to make sure that we were communicating the right messages to the parents in a more authentic way. Those conversations went on all the way through the 3rd of March, and then we were all given the news that we had to close, which made things a lot harder to kind of get this process up and running. The original plan was for us to do something like this in June, but that made it difficult because we were no longer able to spend as much time as we wanted with the teachers to kind of get this in motion. Over the summer, there were 2 separate items that were passed by the board in the July meeting. One was just a revision of the board policy, and then a more descriptive change with regards to how we are going to be assessing our students, which is what we're going to talk about with the presentation here. So standards-based report cards, it's more about having a discussion with the students. We want to make sure that we are not surprising parents at the end of a marking period, or in our case moving forward, trimesters. Students as well as parents should know, based on every assignment, how they are doing as they progress toward the standards. So for the kindergarten report card, and these are linked through the letter that Mr. Dunphy sent out, and I believe that he posted that to the principal's page as well. So after this Zoom call, if there are any questions or concerns, definitely feel free to reach out to either of us, and we'll be able to address them for you. As you can see with the report card, it is more detailed. So for the case of kindergarten, and we'll do the same for first grade, recognizes upper and lowercase letters, identifies letter sounds. So it's no longer just is progressing toward reading or a generic statement. It's a lot more specific to what the grade level standards are according to the state of New Jersey. That runs throughout all of the language arts sections as well as the mathematics sections. But I do want to point out there are sections that are going to be blacked out. And what that means is in that trimester, the students are not learning or working toward an understanding of that item. So in the first trimester, for example, for counting and cardinality, recognizes and writes numerals 11 through 20. That's not something that they're going to be discussing from September through early December. So we don't want to, put something on there for the sake of putting it there. So we've blacked out sections that are not taught at that time, and your child will only be assessed when they're taught something specifically.
And Dr. G, if I can just interrupt for a second. Dr. G just mentioned trimesters. That is another specific change that we feel is going to be benefit our children, our parents, and our teachers. We changed from a quarterly progress and report card to a trimester. One of the reasons behind this was it's going to give us a better understanding of the skills, especially in that first trimester. And we also wanted to allow our teachers and parents to meet for conferences and still have time to do better in class if necessary. So if we have a student that's struggling with uppercase letters in that first trimester, and we meet prior to November, but also at conference time in November, there's still a few weeks after that, 3 weeks after, that the student can work with their parents to do better with their recognition of uppercase letters, for example. And that's one of the reasons we made the change from quarterly to trimester. Thanks, Dr. G.
No problem. So within each of the areas with the trimesters, we're expecting our students to grow in terms of what they're able to do. Some of the areas, excuse me, some of the areas are just very uniform. So recognizes and writes numerals 0 through 10. Either the students can do it or they can't. There are going to be some situations, though, where we want them to make progression. We want to see that progression. So in the beginning of the year, the upper and lowercase letters, it's our hope coming into kindergarten that the students have a very strong foundation with this. I know that with the Tools of the Mind program, as well as our pre-K, both here and with the Acelera program, they spend a lot of time with sound maps and working with sounds. So students are coming in with a basic understanding. We're not going to say at the beginning of the year they need to know all 52 letters in terms of the upper and lowercase letters. So within the rubric, and I know it's hard to see with this, and it's easier to see on the letter that was provided. At the beginning of the year, to meet the expectation, they need to know between 18 and 39 letters. So it could be all uppercase, it could be all lowercase, it could be a mixture. And for some parents, they're going to say, well, that's a lot. We're looking at from September through December. The whole chunk of that first trimester within kindergarten is really dedicated to just recognizing letters, recognizing sounds, and getting the students comfortable within the classroom itself. Looking at first grade, the same is going to hold true. So we have the language arts section, and it's very specific to the standards. And the same thing here for math. Again, areas are blacked out. It doesn't mean that they're not doing it. We're not assessing it at that time. We don't want to tell a student that they're not meeting a standard if we haven't taught it explicitly. There are going to be situations where some students are working above, and that'll be reflected within the rating of, the student is a 4 in that first trimester for ability to subtract within 10, because they may be going beyond the 10. And a 4 means they're exceeding the standard expectation. So if they're asked to add or subtract within 10 and they're doing it within 50, that is by definition a student that is exceeding the standard. Mr. Dunphy, do you want to comment on the report cards? I know you had touched.
Sorry, I had to unmute myself. Yeah, like I said, we traditionally held and still will hold our parent conferences right around Thanksgiving time. Last year, we added an extra day because we knew that it was important, especially at the elementary level, to have those conferences with parents, and we needed more time. So that extra day of conferences gave us, one, more time to meet with parents and more slots for parents to be able to meet with their teacher. We still hold that is an important time. Not only should you be contacting your teacher throughout that first trimester, but at the same time, during the conference piece of it, which we will still hold, we don't know if it's going to be virtual or not. It may be, but we will still hold those conferences. This now, once you're having that conference with the teacher on, let's say, November 19th, you have 3 weeks to really focus on the areas or area that the child that your student is having issues with. And it may be one small thing, it may be a few things, but this, I think, allows us to get a better assessment of your children, especially at the kindergarten level. And anyone that's new coming into our first grade, we're not sure what we're dealing with, because either you went to our pre-K program and we have a small snippet, you didn't go to our pre-K program and we don't know, or you're new to our school and we really don't have much to go on other than what the other school provided us, if anything. So that's why we want to make sure that we have this time period to really assess the students at where they are. And we use a bunch of really good programs, especially at the kindergarten level, called one program is called ESGI, that your teachers will be able to assess students virtually. That really gives you a breakdown of exactly what they're missing, what they're getting, how they're exceeding, or how they're assessing, approaching a standard. And we feel that this breakdown gives us a better wealth of information for all the children in our school.
All right. Like Mr. Dunphy said, the conferences, we're going to keep those to the traditional time period. And I think the most important to point out is that February conference, and then look at the report card distribution date. That's the time period where we're really looking to see, how much growth the student has, so that we can really address and create a plan of action to help that student make the progress toward that standard. And essentially that student's going to have a month and a half, along with us working with the parents, to really work hard on it, whether it's sight words, letters, addition, subtraction. It could just be the fluency of reading. They can comprehend what somebody's reading to them, but they're having issues comprehending it as they're reading. It really allows us to hammer home those skills so that we're setting the students up for success. Because at the end of the day, kindergarten and first grade are our most valuable and important grades that our students are in. It sets them up perfectly for second grade, when that transition really begins between learning how to read and really reading for the purpose of learning.
And during that second trimester would be probably conversations with teachers and parents about possible retention. And the reason we want to do it early is so that we have that time to make sure that the students get up to speed wherever they need to be. And it's a very important time of year, especially like Dr. G said, at these critical grade levels of kindergarten and first grade.
Right. So in terms of what's changing within the classroom, not much. What we're doing in the classroom, we have our scope and sequence, and it really allows us as administrators to have those conversations with the teachers. Hey, where are the students? Where do we need some professional development? Do we need to call our coaches so that you can have a better understanding of how to reach this student? It allows us to schedule meetings with you as the parents to say, you know, we're seeing that this is happening at home, or we're seeing that this is happening, you know, maybe at home when you're cooking. Can you go get me 3 + 1 eggs? Something as simple as that is going to help that student start to recognize some of those concepts that they may be having issues with within the classroom. And again, this is if we were in normal school, and we'll talk about what this looks like in a hybrid model as well. But it allows us to also differentiate more. So we see students that are really struggling with this concept, but we see students that are really strong with this concept. It allows us to better group the students within the classroom so that we can provide that tier 2 level of intervention directly to that student. And what that means is if you know, Johnny's having a little bit of difficulty and he's still struggling with adding up to 10, but we're moving on and getting ready to go up and add through 20, I know that Johnny and Jimmy and Sally are 3 students that are having some issues. I'm going to pull them for a small group more often than I would pull the other students, just to help them catch up and be able to handle not just the adding within 10, but also working toward adding within 20. Things are also going to change in terms of assessment. And this is something that we started to see last year with the Fountas and Pinnell classroom. It's going to be more discussion based with students and teachers taking notes and having conversations with parents about that. So it's, what is your goal this week for writing? You know, do you want to add more description? Do you want to focus on punctuation? When you're working on reading, what are you reading for? You know, do we want to make sure that we're identifying more sight words? Having conversations with students so that they can understand what they need to do and how they need to improve. And it's a change. It's a change that's going to be not easy, especially given the circumstances that we find ourselves in. But we really want to take the emphasis off of a number because that increases anxiety. You know, we don't want students to see, you know, hundreds and then 30 or 50 because that makes them feel like they're not finding success. We want to celebrate success no matter how small it is, because that's what's going to give the students that confidence to move forward and continue with those improvements. All right. So in terms of a hybrid model, I can attest as a parent, as well as Mr. Dunphy, I think that we felt like the top picture more often than not as a parent, where we are looking at our phone, trying to figure out what's going on while looking at the computer. It was a lot in the spring, and we recognized that. And I know that throughout all the Zoom calls as well as board meetings, you know, we just ask for that flexibility and that patience. We don't want the students feeling like the picture on the bottom right as well, nor do we want it to be just computer, computer, computer. So in terms of what we're doing moving forward, there's going to be more of an emphasis on that instruction. So teachers are going to be providing instruction from their computer. They're going to be talking about certain skills for reading, certain skills for writing, for math. There are going to be virtual special classes, health and PE. I was talking with Mr. Hewen earlier, and the focal point is going to be on hygiene as well as that social, emotional, and mental health standpoint, which is something that I think that all of our students need on a day-to-day basis to begin with. But I have a first grade son, and he's having a hard time with this, and I can only imagine how difficult it is for our students as well, not knowing what's going to happen next, let alone when they're going to be able to see their friends again. Art and music as well as technology. Within the classroom, there's going to be an emphasis on social and emotional learning. And then we're going to provide students with individual and small group appointments where they can work with the teacher on some of those skills that I spoke about. And then there's going to be time in the day for student and parent support time as well, where the students will be able to ask questions to the teachers, as well as you as a parent. You can schedule time to speak directly to the teacher in order to have some of your questions and concerns addressed. The way that I think we look at this is the students are going to be in the classroom, but they're just going to be at home. Everything is going to run as consistently as possible to what a classroom looks like. The only difference is the teacher is going to be in the computer screen as compared to a face-to-face. All right, let me just exit out here. All right, are there any questions, concerns about the report cards? I know we kind of went through everything a little quickly. There'll be more opportunities once we get into the school year to really look at the rubrics and have conversations about, you know, how the students are progressing and what needs to be done. But I do want to open it up to the parents that are with us today to see if there are any questions or concerns.
And just one thing, as you guys unmute yourselves to speak if you would like. Again, the presentation will be posted to my principal's page at the end of the meetings, meaning on Thursday afternoon. We are working, I know some of you may be on here to see what type of schedule is going to be set for our kids. The reason a schedule wasn't released was, and I'm talking about a time schedule, was because we're still working with pre-K and K and 1 to make sure that we are not over computering them. And that's not a word, but I'm using it anyway. We want to make sure that they do have brain breaks built in and step away from the computer. We understand that on the computer for 6 hours a day is a lot for anybody, much less a young child. So that's why there isn't a true time frame sent out yet. We are looking at like an 8:40 start to a 1:15 dismissal with a built-in lunch break for about a half hour and also a built-in specials break, meaning they'll get their art, their music, their gym, their world language / computers. So I just want you to hold on tight to that, knowing that the schedule will be released by the end of this week. There will be an all call as well as an email going out with times for everybody. So if you have any scheduling questions, just hold on to them till the end of this week. And then once it gets released, if you have more questions, you can absolutely contact myself or Dr. G. In terms of the report card or anything else, fire away. If you don't have any questions, that's fine too. Mr. and Mrs. Mori, how about you? Do you have any questions?
Not right now.
And I know it's a lot to
digesting the
digest.
answers. Yeah, I'm digesting the info that you guys are giving us. Regarding the schedule, you said to wait. So because we had an email, I think, with a schedule, but I guess it was just like an example.
Yeah, what happened was we were ready for an A-B split and to go virtual and in person at the same time. And then when we decided as a district to go all virtual, something had to change. So we wanted to make sure that the kids get the most out of this learning environment. And that's why we felt that we needed to change our schedule a little bit. So there is no A-B split for now. It will be, you know, let's say there's 15 kids in a class. Those 15 kids will be attending with the teacher virtually and then probably break up into small group sessions throughout the day. That's what we're working on now.
Got it. And the logins for the Google Classroom will be sent in an email.
Absolutely. And we're working on a material pickup schedule as well so that, you know, hopefully, I can't guarantee this, but hopefully we will be able to put a teacher face with a student face, you know, face to face, a little pickup. Here's your math book, or here's your login with everything, so that the teacher and the student can see each other, you know, in person for one time, you know, while we start.
Got it. Got it.
And we're actually going to be meeting with our pre-K and kindergarten team after we're done with this meeting so that we can iron out some of those details. We've been in communication with all the teachers who have really given their time, you know, during this break of theirs. They recognize that, you know, we're all in this together. We're a team, the parents, administration, the teachers, the community itself. We all want what is best for our kids, and it's tough, but we're going to get through this.
Ms. Peralta, do you have any questions?
No.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Sukas, do you have any questions?
No, thank you.
You're welcome. Guys, honestly, we are one click away. We are also a phone call away. So if you do have any questions and you think about this afterwards, and also the letter that had the Zoom meeting on it is on my principal's page. That has links to all the report cards and the rubrics. So you can take a look at it. And if you have any questions about those, again, feel free to ask. I would suggest taking a look at them. I wouldn't go, you don't have to deep dive into them. I would take a look at them. I would go through the first couple weeks of school and, you know, contact your teacher. How are they doing with the recognition of upper and lowercase letters? Are we meeting the standard? Are we approaching it? Are we exceeding it? You know, I can say with almost 100% certainty that our teachers are just as nervous as we are, but at the same time excited to get started. They really want to get back with the kids, whether it's virtually or in person. And I'm happy to have these conversations with you guys, but I'm even happier that our teachers have been contacting us throughout the summer and been working throughout the summer to make this the best possible scenario. Hey, Antonella, how are you?
Good.
Good. I'm glad. I love the picture I see with your heart-shaped sunglasses on. I love it. Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to close out this meeting. We're going to post the meeting probably Thursday. So if you have other kindergarten or first grade parents that couldn't make it, you can just say, hey, take a look at the principal's page on Thursday. It'll be up Thursday afternoon or evening. And bear with me while I work on the schedules, because that is, I know it's a big part for everybody, but it was a wrench in our plans thrown on Monday when we decided to go all virtual. And I support the decision. I'm not saying I don't. I support the decision, but trying to work on schedules for our young learners as well as our upper elementary grade students has given me a challenge personally. So I haven't slept much in the last few days, and it probably shows on my face right now, but I just want you to know we will have it all hammered out before the week is out, and you will get an all call / email, one or the other or both, from me with an attachment about the schedule. Okay. Well, I want to thank you all for coming, and I want to thank Dr. G for really putting this presentation together. And he was an instrumental part in our standards-based report card development. And I really do appreciate him lighting a fire under me to get this going too. So I just want to thank him for all the hard work he's done. And I want to thank you guys for attending, because you're taking a great interest in your child's education. And that's what we need from our community. Thank you so much, guys. And I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Goodbye. Good afternoon.
Bye, thank you.